The divine masculine, he is waking up from that dream, and I do think he's getting ready to choose truth over illusion. The universe is like, that one there, that is your lucky star. But you know what? The divine feminine, she's in this Nine of Pentacles energy. She's not waiting anymore. Rising in her worth. That's what I see here for you, divine feminine. Rewriting that love template from the inside out, and the combined energies for this weekend is the Eight of Cups. And so both of the twins are at that point where they are walking away from what no longer aligns, and they are walking toward each other, or maybe they're just walking towards themselves. Are you ready to dig into these energies this weekend? Because we got some pretty significant astrological energies at play. So let's dive deeper into the astrologies and let's get into this weekend's message. All right, let's talk about this very powerful and emotionally activating weekend. For the Twin Flame Collective, we do have a very strong blend of emotional clarity. Divine illusions are dissolving, and we are in a portal of deep inner transformation. So we are going to start with talking about the Venus and Aries conjunct Neptune and Aries transit. That is the chart that you're seeing up on the screen at the moment. And so this is a major heart activation transit. And so it is here to dissolve those illusions around love, especially when we had that Venus and Pisces energy. We're almost out of the post retrograde energy. And so Venus and Aries is all about passion, desire, and our identity in relationships. And so for twin flames, I do feel this is going to trigger a lot of fantasy versus reality themes. There's going to be sudden spiritual downloads about your connection, and there could be a powerful wave of unconditional love and compassion coming forward towards your counterpart. And so there is this deep desire to merge. I felt a deeper understanding of this spiritual reconnection, and it is strong. And with the Aries energy, this to me is also bringing up those ego-based projections that do need to be dissolved through compassion. We also have the moon transiting through Cancer the same day as the Venus conjunct Neptune energies, and I do feel this is very prominent leadership cardinal energy. But with the moon in a square to Mercury in Aries, this is going to trigger a lot of emotional thoughts versus impulsive communication. And so there is going to be miscommunication. You might find yourself speaking from a very hurt place. So just be gentle with yourself, especially if you have prominent Cancer placements or are a moon in Cancer. And so we also have the moon in a sextile to Uranus, which is going to bring in sudden emotional shifts and breakthroughs. So expect that unexpected inner clarity to come full circle. And we also have the moon in a trine to Saturn, which is in Pisces still. And so this is all about grounded emotions. This is about emotional maturity, and basically an opportunity to emotionally stabilize after whatever sudden realization comes to light. And the Venus-Neptune conjunction, I feel, is one of the most spiritually and emotionally profound transits for this twin flame journey. And there's that additional aspects here that I want to talk about, because they kind of do weave a very complex but beautiful web of love, shadow work, and karmic release, and divine courage. So let's get that chart pulled up on the screen. Okay, so let's talk about Venus, right? Because Venus does represent love, values, and relationships. And when it meets Neptune, the planet of divine love, dreams, and illusions, this is a very fiery, individualistic energy that is governing courage, instinct, and the divine I am. And so there is a soul mirror activation for the twin flames in the energies today. And so on its own, Venus conjunct Neptune can bring the heightened compassion, the unconditional love, the spiritual yearning, and the dissolving of all of these ego-based barriers in love. There's going to be feelings of romantic longing and soul memories, even twin flame dream telepathy. But the shadow side of this transit is that idealization, delusion, projection, and that fantasy of love instead of its truth. And so these extra aspects that we're going to talk about, as you can see, we're zeroing in on the extra Venus aspects. This kind of brings forward a multidimensional initiation into this sacred love portal. And so we do have to be brave enough, though, to see beyond the illusion. And so we're first going to talk about Venus in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And so this is the opportunity for that soul level transformation in love. It is here to help dissolve all of the toxic bonds of jealousy, manipulation, all while inviting in this rebirth through that heart-centered truth. And Pluto is actually supporting the Venus energy in making these empowered choices, right? Which is all about choosing liberation over obsession. It's all about choosing sovereignty over sacrifice. And so the twin flame implication that I see here is, although you may feel ready to end a karmic cycle or to stand up for your authentic self and that equal union, you can't at the same time play into power games and power struggles. And then let's take a look at the Venus in a quincunx to Lilith in Scorpio. And so a quincunx is a 150 degree adjustment aspect. And so it is a very discomforting energy, and it shows where we need to recalibrate ourselves. And so Venus wants connection and harmony. Lilith in Scorpio is going to bring forward that rage, that sexual power, and that emotional raw truth. And so this aspect working together in this Venus conjunct Neptune energy is going to trigger that conflict between craving love and fearing that betrayal. And so I do feel either one or both of the counterparts are really going to feel torn today. This is a push-pull dynamic between deep passion and that fear of being controlled, abandoned, or possibly just being unseen. And so this is going to surface possibly in dreams or a sexual energy exchange, or even just a sudden emotional release. And then we're going to take a look here. We do have Venus in an opposition to the South Node in Virgo. And so this really is what I want to say, karmic soul contract territory. The South Node represents our past, where we have been, what we've outgrown, and Venus opposing the South Node. This point is asking us all, are you ready to let go of your old patterns in love? The Virgo South Node is an energy of overanalyzing, perfectionism, martyrdom, and the need to fix others. And Venus in Aries is all about self-love, self-initiative, and self-inner fire. And so I do feel with this opposition, the divine feminine and the divine masculine are both being asked to release these old roles, especially codependent ones, of the healer-fixer dynamic, the victim-savior dynamic, the chaser-runner dynamic, in order to evolve towards a balanced divine union. We also see Venus here in a trine to Mars and Leo. I'm loving this because this is what I want to call the divine lovers alignment. The sacred masculine Mars in Leo energy and the feminine Venus in Aries energy are being brought into a very harmonious trine. I always consider trines to be portals, and this is going to activate that sexual magnetism, the romantic courage, the bold expression of desire, and that heart-centered action. And so with both of these in fire signs, these activate a creative, passionate, and confident frequency connected to love. I'm all about the grand fire trine. I have one in my personal birth chart. And so I do feel with the Venus trine Mars energy, this reunion energy is at an all-time high. And so if you have been in separation or perhaps even at an emotional standoff, this transit is going to encourage one or both of the counterparts to reach out, to speak their truth, and to open up their heart again. And with Venus, Neptune working together in the background too, we've got the alchemical heart portal being activated. And so when we pull all of these aspects together connected to Venus, we get a powerful narrative of soul awakening. Venus conjunct Neptune opens up the door to the unconditional love and the soul remembrance. Pluto is bringing that depth, that truth, and that call to step into higher love without any more power games. And Lilith, well, Lilith is exposing that raw energy, whether it's fears, desires, or raw wounds that do need to be integrated still. And the South Node, well, that's pulling all of these karmic threads to the surface, asking us to let go of perfectionism and fear, and also fear of failure in love. Mars is bringing the courage, though. Mars is here to say, hey, find the courage to choose love over fear and action over avoidance. And so really, I feel this transit is going to feel like a deep soul level yearning to merge with your counterpart, or even just reclaim parts of yourself that were lost in the name of love, right? We've all gone down that road where we've lost ourselves in the name of love. And so we have a sacred choice playing out on May the 2nd. Do you choose illusion and safety, or do you choose authenticity and transformation? Because there's going to be downloads coming forward with clarity about what divine union actually really means. And it's not fantasy, but it is a mission of wholeness. So let's go a little bit further. And we're going to talk about the moon transiting in Leo. But I'm first going to pull up the chart of Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius. Okay, so what you see now up on the screen is the Pluto retrograde chart. And so before jumping into the Pluto retrograde energies, let's first touch base on the moon transiting through Leo, because it's going to make some pretty significant transits and aspects on the 3rd and the 4th. And so the first thing I want to mention is there's going to be a shift towards self-worth, pride, and confidence as the moon moves through Leo. Let's face it, Leo moons can actually be quite dramatic at times, but oftentimes they are centered in the heart, right? We're going to have the moon in Leo in a trine to Neptune and Venus in Aries, which are still in that conjunct energy. And so this is healing through the heart, healing through self-love. And so there's going to be a surge of creativity and possibly even a powerful telepathic reconnection between the twins. The moon is going to be in an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, which is going to trigger those power struggles in the collective. Whether this is triggering feelings of rejection or abandonment, that's very likely for that to arise. This is going to trigger the shadow side of love. That's all going to have to come to the surface. The moon in a conjunction to Mars in Leo is passion turned on high, whether it's sexual tension, triggers, or just a desire to take bold action. And we're going to have the moon in Leo in a square to the sun in Taurus. And so this really is the ego versus the heart. So what you may feel is a test. What you previously valued is probably going to be tested, and there's going to be a lot of inner conflict, right, between wanting to be playful and wanting that stability. And with the trine to Mercury and Aries, this is going to clear up communication by the end of Sunday. And so I do feel there's going to be a lot of emotional truth coming to light this weekend within these connections. So let's go deeper into the Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, because Pluto's going to be retrograde for about 5 months. And so this is where all of this collective energy is going to massively intensify, and it is going to mark the starting period of a deep internal transformation, particularly around freedom, soul contracts, and individuality within these unions. So pay close attention to where Pluto is sitting at in your personal birth chart. That is going to give you more information as to where to figure out how this deep internal transformation is going to play out. So for me, it is in my 12th house. If you are not sure how to really read your birth chart yet, and you would like a little bit of information on how to do that, I do have a free downloadable guide. All you have to do is comment free guide down below. It's like 15 basics to the birth chart to kind of help you get started as a beginner reading your own chart. So if you want that guide, comment free guide down below, because this retrograde is huge. It's going to help us reveal all of the hidden power dynamics within these connections. And twin flames are really going to feel that pull to go inward, to reflect on how much of themselves they've actually sacrificed, or even where they have withheld in the name of love or this connection. And with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, This is all about redefining love as liberation, right? Aquarian wants freedom, not control. And so with Pluto stationing retrograde at 3 degrees 49 in Aquarius, this energy is immensely amplifying what I want to say is the Empress and the Nine of Cups energy. What is your wish fulfillment, Divine Feminine? What truly is going to bring you that wish fulfillment? Because we are being called to step into that Divine Feminine embodiment, especially as this retrograde cycle begins. So we won't exit the post-retrograde period after this until Pluto surpasses 3 degrees 49. And so over the next 5 months, this is a huge invitation within the collective. And personally, I want to say for you, Divine Feminine, to go deep, to excavate the shadows, to excavate the unconscious fears and all of these power dynamics that still influence how you love, how you connect, how you express your soul truth. And so some key aspects at the time of this station, we do have Pluto in a sextile to Venus and Aries. And this is a very healing and empowering aspect that is going to offer a very rare opportunity for deep transformation in love. Venus and Aries is about courageous love and self-worth through desire. Pluto is going to be supporting this by encouraging the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine to be taking back their power in relationships. And this is not about domination. This is not about codependencies. And so twin flames are either going to experience a breakthrough around unhealthy attachments or toxic desire loops, or even just a breakthrough and realization about what true soul-led love means. And so for the Divine Feminine, I do feel this retrograde is going to offer you a chance to release all of these old stories about needing to earn love or to prove your worthiness. And for the Divine Masculine, this is going to be a call for them to face their fears of intimacy and authenticity, where they have resisted healing in their lives, true, actual healing. And with Pluto in a square to Lilith in Scorpio, and as well as Priapus in Taurus, this is high voltage shadow work. Lilith in Scorpio is going to bring up the repressed rage, the sexual trauma, the wounds around betrayal or abandonment. And Priapus, the counterpart to Lilith, symbolizes that hunger for the connection, the safety, and the physical merging. And so this square energy is going to create tension between that raw, primal desire of Lilith and that comfort-seeking, possessive attachment of Priapus. And so Pluto in this square axis is going to be forcing the twin flames to confront how shadow sexuality, emotional addiction, or avoidance of vulnerability has really been distorting the purity of this union. And so overall for the collective, there's going to be themes of sexual empowerment versus sexual shame. There's going to be emotional extremes connected to jealousy and control. And there's going to be a need to balance sovereignty within these sacred unions. We also have Pluto in that opposition to Mars still playing out, and that could lead to a direct confrontation between power and passion, control and action. And this can manifest as something internally, or it can be an external power struggle. I feel especially more so for the Divine Masculine, who are going to feel pushed into action and deeply triggered by these old ego woundings. And so Mars in Leo is here to be brave. It wants that recognition. And Pluto is demanding that humility, that depth, and that transformation. And so there's going to likely be the shadow potential, I want to say, is explosive arguments, control dynamics, and a shutdown response if emotions are repressed. This is going to be more so for the karmic relationship cycles that still are clinging and not releasing. The higher potential of this transit is actually that fiery alchemy of truth. Both the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine are finally getting ready, I want to say, to stand in their power without overpowering each other. This is the energy of I see you fully and I'm going to remain in my truth. Then we're going to have Pluto in an opposition to the Cancer ascendant at 29 degrees. And so this is going to hit that identity and soul body interface, right? The ascendant, especially in terms of emotional self and ancestral memory. And at 29 degrees, I talk about it all the time, this is a critical karmic degree, which is amplifying the urgency for the twin flame collective to release these old emotional identities that have been rooted in abandonment, fear of rejection, or needing to mother others to be safe. And so Pluto here is acting as that spiritual surgeon, that soul surgeon, saying, hey, it's time to shed the false self or suffer its weight, right? And for the divine feminine, you're probably going to be feeling deeply emotionally raw, possibly even weepy, as we clear lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of emotional entanglement. Divine masculine, there's going to be identity level friction. I feel there's going to be a sense that you're not who you once were anymore. And even if you don't know who it is that you're yet to become, but overall, I do feel the Pluto retrograde themes for the twin flame journey over the coming months is a theme of death and rebirth, to let go of the old ego identities that have blocked these physical unions. And this is all going to be a time of facing truth around power, vulnerability, sex, and control. But we are clearing ancestral wounding, especially connected to the distorted feminine and masculine roles within societal structures, so we can learn to love from a place of freedom and not fear. And so this Pluto retrograde is not about getting those quick fixes, those quick answers. It is about long-term, irreversible evolution. And so may the 4th be with you and onward, because many twin flames will be pushed into deep inner work that prepares them for the sacred, sustainable union, which is not going to be fantasy driven or driven on attachments. And so divine masculine energy this weekend is going to trigger a lot of confusion. There could be realizations about who and what you really want in love. You might also feel divine masculine, a loss of control. This is your spiritual ego shedding. I do feel there could be anger, desire, and a lot of inner conflict, as you probably are going to feel the need to lash out or possibly just retreat due to all of this pressure. When Pluto retrograde begins its internal breakdown of these limiting beliefs, I kind of feel you're going to begin to feel that urge to align with a higher truth, even if it requires letting go of an old identity or an old relationship that you've been clinging to. And with Mercury aspecting all of this, I do feel the divine masculine is likely to speak up or reach out, but only if they are able to center themselves emotionally first. And so some key themes for you, divine masculine, to sit with. Are you being authentic in this connection or all of your connections? Face those inner fears of vulnerability so you can emotionally express your truth, because I do feel there's going to be sudden inspiration or desire to reach out, but you're going to have to battle with that hesitation. Divine feminine energy. I do feel you are going to deeply feel these transits as a divine heart expansion, awakening, or possibly recalibration. All of those illusions around romantic perfectionism need to fall away. The Cancer and Leo moon is really going to highlight the need for you, divine feminine, for that emotional safety first, and then the desire for recognition and love. Pluto retrograde is really going to drudge up the ancestral trauma for you, divine feminine, connected to abandonment and past life wounding that does still need to be healed. But you have all of the tools and you are equipped to transmute all of this trauma, this ancestral trauma, into that higher wisdom. And so you're going to feel torn, probably between nurturing and asserting your needs. And so some themes for you over the coming days is, what does real love feel like beyond fantasy? You're going to need to trust yourself to lead energetically without chasing, because this is all about owning your worth in love, even if it means letting go. And so this weekend is spiritually charged. It's going to be emotionally raw, and twin flames are being invited to surrender to the truth, not the illusion. And let's face it, communication always improves confusion. There very well could be communication by late Sunday, but only after these emotional layers are kind of peeled back like an onion. And we all know what it's like to chop an onion. It usually makes us cry. And so peeling back the blocks and the layers to actually being emotionally vulnerable. And so I think both of the counterparts are going to be feeling this mix of energies between longing, nostalgia, and courage to rise into these new versions of themselves. So With that being said, if you would like to go further with a twin flame reading with me, do feel free to check out the links below. If you're not quite ready for a reading, I do have a twin flame ebook guide. It is a 22-page downloadable ebook, and it kind of just helps you navigate the stages and the phases of the journey like a pro, like I have done. If you would like a copy of that, comment down below, Twin Flame Guide, and I will send you the link to download the book. But let's jump in with some cards and let's see what these weekend energies have in store for the twins. We do have quite the powerful multi-layered spread coming through again today for the weekend check-in. This definitely is a beautiful reflection of the Pluto retrograde themes that are playing out, the Venus energy at play. And so right now, collectively, we are in a massive emotional purge, a karmic rebalancing. And I'm definitely seeing the reflection of the astrology coming through for the Twin Flame Collective this weekend. So let's break down these cards, starting with the Divine Masculine Oracle card that came out, and we did get the Alchemy of Poison. As you can see, it is a 22 card, and so right now there are transformational lessons at play. This is where the Divine Masculine has to choose to reclaim back his personal choice, and there is the need to embody radical forgiveness in these energies. And so right now I feel this really is a message of Pluto retrograde in motion for the Divine Masculine, where he is kind of at this point of being catalyzed to confront what it is he has been allowing to poison his personal autonomy, especially in relationships where power, shame, or guilt have been at play. And so the 22 definitely syncs with the energy of the Master Builder. And I do feel the masculine is being asked to rebuild his inner framework in the energies this weekend. And so this is definitely connected to the opposition to Mars in Leo, where I feel this is amplifying that internal conflict, where maybe he's been acting from ego and pride, and he's going to need to transform and forgive. And with the Venus energy in a trine to Mars and Leo, I just feel this is him wanting to pursue love and passion. but he's going to have to get to a place of radical self-acceptance and ownership first. That's the only thing that's going to set him free. And so there is kind of like a reckoning happening here within the divine masculine collective around past misuses of power, emotional manipulation, and choices that were made out of fear. And so this weekend is really asking the divine masculine to transmute that shame into sacred strength. And so this is either where he's going to resist the transformation, or he's going to go forward and choose the next layer of healing. And so divine feminine, I love it. Epiphanies sing at dawn. And when I pulled the card, I heard we ride at dawn. And so there could be an aha moment, a deeper layer of awakening, or you going into a new direction. There's potential here, massive, massive potential. It's a 7 card. And so I kind of feel you're rising into this new internal truth. And I do feel it is directly linked to the Venus energy, the Venus-Neptune energy, right? Where the dream is becoming visible through the fog, right? Because we did have the Venus conjunct Neptune energy coming through. And so I do feel this is a major reflection of the spiritual awakening, divine insight, or even like a course correction or a path correction coming through for the divine feminine. I also feel there's that quincunx to Lilith and that opposition to the South Node at play coming through for you, divine feminine, where you are kind of being shown clearly where you have sacrificed yourself, where you have muted or silenced your truth, or where you've tried to fit in, right? We're not here to fit in. And so now you're kind of being freed from some type of an illusion. And that aha moment, I feel, is probably going to involve a deeper meaning. I do feel the throat, the light codes on the throat, a deeper meaning behind the delays and the separations, and realizing that, hey, your worth, it is non-negotiable, divine feminine. And so there's going to be inner clarity, I feel, this weekend about what it is that you truly desire with that Venus and Aries energy, and maybe where you have been unconsciously compromising yourself with the South Node energy in Virgo. And so right now I feel you are kind of rewriting that narrative from martyr, I want to say from martyr to mystic, okay? And so the combined energies, I love the green on the card. It's definitely heart energy coming through, and it's order in the forest, right? It's like, are we finally out of the woods yet? It's an 11 card, which kind of brings forward a little bit of justice energy, right? It is also a master number, and so this is cleansing. This is releasing resentments. It says making amends on the card. And so this really is the sacred detox of the weekend energies that we are mirroring in these connections. And so Pluto stationing retrograde, the shadow surfacing that needs to be cleared, the moon in Cancer, moving from Cancer into Leo with all of those aspects, is creating emotional courage with some truth telling, I want to say. And the Venus Neptune energy is surrendering the false stories of love and romance. And so this kind of feels like a soul level reconciliation. This is not just with the counterpart, but this is within the self. And so there is a need for both the divine masculine and the divine feminine this weekend to let go of the past misunderstandings, let go of the regret, the blame game, and to honor each other's pain and processing, right? Because the journey is painful, and we all have to go through the transformational process of our own accord. And so we got to make room for that new beginning. And so we do have to come spiritually clean. We have to come clean. And so the 11 is bringing forward, I want to say, that twin flame vibration in that full force. And so this weekend is probably going to spark a lot of spiritual mirroring, a lot of psychic connections mirroring one another, and forgiveness breakthroughs. And so there's like emotional composting is what they want me to say. Emotional composting that is going to allow true growth to really occur in these connections this weekend. So let's talk about the bottom of the deck. We got enough for now and always. It's a 30 card. And so there is a 4 of Wands energy coming through at the bottom of the deck. It says you are enough, worthiness, faith in needs being met. And so the soul contract is intact, whether we see it physically or not, whether it's reflected physically or not. This does speak of worthiness wounds needing to be healed. Each twin is enough as they are. Each twin is whole as they are. And union is never earned. It is only embodied through self-love and union of self. And so 30 reduces to 3, which is the number of creation. And so we're kind of in the womb space of reunion this weekend. And I did go one step further because, oh, look at this. We get every word has power. And it's a 27 card, Ace of Wands, energy coming through. It speaks of education, the power of persuasion, communication, and internal dialogue. And so our internal dialogue actually does shape our outer reality. And so communication breakthroughs, psychic messages, maybe if your counterpart has had a blackened heart, that heart is awakening through new initiations coming in, even if it's only energetically. But I do feel a lot of this energy relates to higher education in the form of spiritual downloads, signs, powerful messages between the twins, whether telepathically or actually physically spoken. But I feel together these two cards on the bottom of the deck are an indication of saying, hey, you are enough. The story is still unfolding. We have to be mindful of how we speak to ourselves and about the connection, because words, they are spells, right? Our words do create worlds. And so let's go a little bit further into this layered spread that beautifully and energetically aligns to the story being told with the weekend's astrology. So let's break this down with the divine masculine spread first, okay? 3 of Cups. I love this deck. This card, I want to say, is the representation of the divine masculine's emotional state. It always gives me this feeling of keeping up with the Joneses. I always feel that with this card, keeping up with the Joneses, jumping through hoops. And so the divine masculine is probably either tied up in seeking external validation still, or he could still be in a karmic group dynamic in a people-pleasing behavior, right? And so I do feel the moon in Leo conjunct Mars is actually putting the pressure on the masculine to perform, please, or keeping up with the Joneses. So I don't know if the masculine is dealing with somebody with the moon in Leo, or perhaps you have a masculine with prominent Leo. But Leo is definitely in focus with this energy today. You do see the image, like I said, the jumping through hoops. It's very symbolic of the masculine navigating a karmic contract that is keeping him emotionally fragmented. And so I do feel there is some type of social or romantic entanglement here that he's just not emotionally aligned with anymore, okay? The next card out is the 7 of Cups. And so this is really what he's awakening to. He is awakening to the fact that these illusions are dissolving. The Pluto retrograde in opposition to Mars is pulling the veil off. He's seeing the fantasies. He's seeing the projections. He's seeing his own emotional escapism for what it truly is. And the Venus trine Mars is reigniting that desire, I feel, in these energies. This time, the divine masculine is going to have to discern that truth from illusion in order to realize the emotional overstimulation and the avoidance of the emotional depth. And then we go right into the King of Wands, which I feel is what the divine masculine has been resisting or even possibly avoiding. And so the resistance, I feel, is rooted in a deep fear of leadership, rejection, and authentic power. And so the Lilith square Pluto is activating this deep masculine wounding, right? There's fear of being misunderstood. There's fear of being punished or even cast out for owning his truth or stepping up. And so he's being asked to stop outsourcing and giving his power away. The action he's being called to take is the Queen of Wands in reverse. He's going to have to liberate himself from the karmic feminine or the seductive illusion. The Queen of Wands reverse is often false confidence or a very controlling dynamic. We see two people here no longer on the same page. And so the masculine is encouraged to separate from the false contract. This can also symbolize unintegrated feminine rage or shame within himself that he is being asked to reclaim through truth and not ego. very, very interesting energies today, right? And then the Five of Wands. And so this is like checkmate. And so this, I want to say, is the Pluto retrograde truth. There's a lot of inner conflict here. There's a lot of competition and chaos that the divine masculine must confront. It is that mirror, though, for all of the unresolved shame and the scarcity patterns. And so I want to say this is the catalyst. Pluto retrograde truth is the catalyst that will push the divine masculine to choose authenticity over performance. And so ultimately, I think it kind of feels like the divine masculine is waking up to the emotional manipulation, the karmic distraction, and the illusion. And I do feel he's going to have to step into that true masculine role. He's going to have to confront that fear of being fully seen in a leadership position and to take action, right? So divine feminine, interesting cards for you. The King of Swords came out first for you, which is representing your current emotional state. Your standing in logic and discernment is really what this is telling me. There's a part of you who is basically emotionally detaching so you can make better aligned decisions. I also feel this reflects the Venus and Aries energy, where you're owning your inner authority, you're owning your voice, your wisdom, even if it means holding some pretty detached, harsh boundaries. And so I kind of feel you also might be feeling a little bit emotionally restricted, but it's going to serve as some clarity here, okay? Page of Pentacles in reversed, what it is that you need to surrender. And so you need to surrender immature hopes. You need to surrender breadcrumbing connections, or being in that wounded student energy. And so I do feel this is connected to the opposition to the South Node energy that I channeled in the astrology, where you are kind of flushing out all of the old templates of giving too much or investing or accepting less than you deserve. So you're releasing a timeline here, or a path that no longer serves you, okay? And this is what you're reclaiming. The High Priestess energy. Look at the curtains are being opened. The veil is being seen. You are reclaiming your pure divine feminine energy, your inner knowing, your sacred silence, your psychic power. And so with the Lilith and the moon in Cancer, Leo, this is the sacred feminine rage as well that has been buried, now becoming that sacred wisdom. You're reclaiming yourself as that oracle. You are no longer seeking those answers externally. I love it, divine feminine. It's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. And then the next card out for you, we get the Queen of Cups in reverse. I'm pretty sure the last reading I channeled, she did come out upright. But this to me today is what your intuition is revealing. And so maybe you are feeling emotionally drained. Maybe you are feeling out of balance because you give and you don't receive anything back. And so your intuition, I want to say, is revealing where you keep giving out of a place of depletion. We can't pour from an empty cup, divine feminine. We have to pour from an overflow of energy. And so the Mercury Neptune trine, I feel, is allowing you to see the pattern come to the surface so you can nurture yourself first. This is a call to tend to your emotional sovereignty, because the last card out for you, I absolutely love it, divine feminine, the Nine of Pentacles. This is what your higher self and the universe wants you to know. You're grounding in a new love template, a template of independence, of wholeness, of beauty and self-possession. You are becoming self-possessed. And so you are anchoring in abundance, confidence without dependency. Your higher self says, hey, divine feminine, you're not alone. You're just no longer abandoning yourself. It's really a beautiful energy. And so I love it. It really does feel like the divine feminine this weekend is finally surrendering the old karmic attachments and reclaiming self-trust, self-worth, intuition, reclaiming that emotional balance. And your guidance is to stand in that rooted worth, okay? Because that new love template begins with you, divine feminine. Let's talk about the combined energies. We get the Eight of Cups. So this is where the connection stands right now. I do feel both of the twins are walking away from the old cycles. They're emotionally detaching from what has been draining or false. This is a spiritual alignment over any emotional clinging that has held the twins back. And so what's being healed and mirrored this weekend is the Star reversed. So this is collective disillusionment happening here. There could be despair, there could be hopelessness around reunion or timing. And so this is a sign that the healing definitely is not completed yet. Faith does need to be reestablished through the inner work that both of the twins do. The Justice card is the next card out, which is what the twins are both being asked to release. Release attachment to the karmic balance. Trust that everything will be made fair. And not everything does need to be made fair in the 3D. This is a higher alchemical process. A lot of the journey happens in 5D or above. And so release the attachment to any physical karmic balancing in the 3D. I want to say let go of scorekeeping too. Divine order is always in play, and we need to trust that, okay? The next card out, interesting, the Justice card to the Six of Pentacles in reverse. This is the divine energies that are actually supporting the connection. And so the divine is currently actually withholding the reunion or the full giving until balance is restored. This is actually protection. It's not punishment, right? And so reciprocity always begins with self. The overgiving has to stop. That was a pretty loud message, okay? Three of Pentacles upright with the Eight of Swords in reverse was the last two cards out. And so you see the poppy on the card. I do feel there's something connected to the 1111 portal coming through with this message. This is what is aligning and becoming clear. So something is happening this weekend. Might not come to full fruition until the 1111 portal in November this year. So there is a foundation, though, quietly being built behind the scenes, even if communication is null or stalled. And the Eight of Swords in reverse is showing that mental clarity and the end of the victim mindset, the end of being caged into an old paradigm, and the releasing of fear. And so both of the twins must free themselves in order to meet on equal ground. And so I kind of feel the connection is in a massive spiritual reset phase where both of the twins are being guided to detach from the old wounds, release those expectations, and focus on building that true inner alignment. That's what the journey really is about. So let's talk about the bottom of the deck. The Nine of Wands, it really stood out loud to me. And so all of the thorns grew back, right? It reminds me of a Taylor Swift song. Can't think of the song at the moment. But the journey is exhausting. Let's face it. This twin flame journey is absolutely exhausting. I think both of the twins are kind of feeling a little bit battle worn, but guess what? You're still standing, okay? You're still standing. And below that, we got the Ace of Swords to the Six of Cups and the Devil. Oh, the Devil. And then we stopped at the Judgment card. And so there is a major truth here that is ready to surface. Clarity is kind of imminent here. I feel with the Six of Cups in reverse, there's a lot of deep soul memories and past life ties coming through with a lot of nostalgia in order to get to the pure heart of the connection. And then the Devil card. And so the karmic ties that bind. There could be obsessions, there could be addictions here and patterns here that need to be released, connected to old karmic roles. This is what must be cut out, okay? This is what needs to be cut out in order for the spiritual rebirth. So the soul call is here, right? We all have a choice to evolve. Not everyone will answer the call. So just keep that in mind, okay? I do feel this really does tell a story. The bottom of the deck always tells a story. And I think there's a story of death and resurrection happening in these connections. So those that have answered the call, they are in that final purge in order to reunite in truth. This really isn't about getting back together. It is about waking up to who each of the twins truly are. So let's talk about the closing oracle messages from the universe. And we get the Wisdom card, and we see Mother Gaia on the card. It is connected to Gothalite crystal. And so trust your body, ground in with the earth, and own your sacred knowing. Gaia is grounding in this connection, and healing does come from embodiment. That's a big message from the universe and reflection. And so we see the energy of the cave and the light pouring into the cave. And it's connected to rhodonite and winter. It's a 22 card, another master number coming through. And so this is a pause for deep internal inventory, right? We go within winter, like we're out of winter now. But I feel the Rhodonite energy is a reflection of compassion through boundaries and self-worth radiance. And so what was frozen will thaw, okay? But only after that inner alignment is kind of honored. And so my final advice to you is use this weekend to kind of listen to your own truth. The mirror is being wiped clear. And so what you choose now will definitely shape your next cycle. So if you're curious about booking in a birth chart reading or twin flame synastry chart reading, do feel free to check out the link below to my webpage. I would love to get that booked in for you. Now would be the perfect time to go a little bit in depth with your journey if you are seeking that guidance, because we are in a massive portal of energies. If you're not quite ready for that, like I said, go and check out my twin flame ebook like I talked about earlier, or comment down below a free guide, and I will send you a quick free astrology guide to kind of be able to follow along with the astrology aspects along with your birth chart. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you Monday.